take two, because during take one, my brain was mush and I was even more rambly than usual. So let's try this again. Hey everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today with my December wrap-up, the last wrap-up of the year. Yay, yay, yay. And this is take two, because take one was, I don't know what was going on. I didn't have coffee yet. I just woke up. I was a mess. So let's try this rambling again, but in a little bit more coherent manner, shall we? As usual, I will start with some stats, how my December went. And even though December is not done yet, technically, I wanted to get this video done and ready for you because January is full of amazing videos about the 2025 wrap-up, like the whole year, not just a month, but the whole year. Starting with my mega stats view, then I will be doing another tier list of all the 2025 releases that I read, and I will be talking about my favorite books that I've read in 2025. So you can get excited for that. I know I am. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you get notified once these videos are out. In December, I read 9 books. I know December's not over yet. Technically, I have a little bit more, so by the time I'm filming this, I have 2.5 more days, but there will only be one book that I will be reading for the rest of the year that I will talk about closer to the end of the video. So I don't think there will be any more than those 9 books. One of these books was a reread with a total of 2,477 pages, which is a little bit less than I wanted, especially since I had the last 1.5 weeks off. I was hoping to get more done. I didn't. I did other things instead, you know? Being an adult sometimes is like that. I read 3 fantasy books, 1 sci-fi, 2 thrillers, and 3 romance books. 4 of those in physical form, 2 audiobooks, and 3 in digital form. And then I loved 4 of those. I liked 4 of those, and 1 was kind of a meh. And then I finished a series. I don't know, is this a spoiler if I say I finished Mistborn? Yay! And I continued 3 other series. I didn't start a new one. Little victories. I'm excited about those. All right, I will talk through the books that I read in genre categories, starting with romance. I read 2 novellas from the Under the Mistletoe Amazon collection, and this one is Under the Mistletoe, as the name probably says, I don't know, Christmassy romance. And I read the Ellie Hazelwood one, which is Cruel Winter with You, and I read the Tessa Bailey one, which is Merry Ever After. So the Ellie Hazelwood one is a female main character who I believe goes home for the holidays. She's meeting up with an old friend and they reminisce about the past and then realize, oh, we should have been together all along, kind of thing. Cute, nothing exciting, typical Ellie Hazelwood manner, well written. Quick listen as well if you want to listen to the audiobook. The Tessa Bailey one, Merry Ever After, is about a thrift store owner who is dressing a grumpy farmer. And it was a bit weird, like if you have conversations like, I never had jeans that fit me, or I don't know, it's not exact wording, but something in that sense. It was awkward, so that one was not as great. The other romance book that I read is Inner Holidays by Christina Lauren, which is a holiday romance that has been making its rounds for a couple of years now. This was released in 2020, so for a couple of years now. It's a Groundhog Day type story in which the female main character May relives the same Christmas holidays over and over again. And in this case, it's her and her family at a cabin where they go every year with close family friends. One of the other families also have kids. They're brothers, one the same age as the main character and one a bit older. And something happens on the last night that triggers her to wish for the universe to show her what makes her happy, which then starts that Groundhog Day loop. I'm saying this knowing that there were only like 3 Groundhog Day loops, which seems not enough for it to be a Groundhog Day trope, I think. Groundhog Day itself had hundreds of loops of the same day. This had only 3. So that was kind of weird. The interactions between that the love interest and the brother is kind of weird, but it's a fun story. Like, it was a quick read. And it's one of those where I'm like, okay, finally I read this book because I found that while I was scanning all of my books. I talked about that in my 2026 goal video if you're interested in that. So I found that and remembered that I had it. So I was like, okay, let me put it on the TBR. Perfect timing with Christmas and everything. And now I can put it away and get it out of my library. That's a good thing, right? Moving into the thriller category, I read 2 thrillers, as I said. The first thriller I read is book 2 in the Tora Gudmundsdottir series by Ilsa Sigurdardottir, My Soul to Take, which is the first time I'm reading the English translation, and it was not good. I like the German translation a lot better, and I don't know if it was this book or if it really was the English translation, but there were some kind of funky, quirky sounding sentences in there. Like, the character kept saying ought to be a lot, like the word ought, and that's not a typical thing that you say in the English language all the time in a modern type of book. Historical fantasy maybe, but not, a modern thriller. Anyway, when I continue with the series, I will continue in the German translation. Even then, the story was not great. I loved book 1. It was fantastic. It had like paranormal hints to it, which this has too, but they are very awkward in this one. And I will definitely read book 3 to see if I continue to like the series and this is just an odd one out, or if the series continues like this one and I can stop reading it, which is also fine. This is again about Tora, who is a lawyer. She gets called to a hotel out in the middle of the boonies in Iceland, which is not hard, I guess, in Iceland, but in the middle of nowhere, by the owner. And the owner had some strange occurrences. He saw ghosts, he heard babies scream at night, and not just him, but his employees as well. And he wants her help. And the reason why he calls her is because she helped him buy the hotel originally. So that's kind of where the connection is coming from. A murder happens and she is investigating, but somehow she has no reason to investigate. And instead of pulling in the police and having the police help her, or she help the police, she's doing this all on her own and kind of against the police. Things like she's finding a diary in the hotel room of the person who was killed. And she never gives it to the police till the end. She never gives it to the police. I was like, what is going on here? I liked that there were scenes from other characters, like just a page or two with, oh, this is my point of view. And here's, a random thought that kind of relates to the situation, or does it, type of stuff. So that was kind of nice to throw you off and keep you guessing on who the actual murder is. But just the majority of the book is her trying to figure things out without rhyme or reason. She's just guessing aloud and putting connections to things where you're like, is there really a connection? Okay. It was not great. So this one was not great. The first one was great. If you want to test her as an author, the first one was great. This one, not so much. And then the other thriller that I read in the month of December, and of course, it's the John Marrs book. That is the 12th John Marrs book that I've read this year. Surprise, surprise. Which is The Stranger in Her House, which is about Connie, who is helping her mother who has dementia, Gwen. And one of those days, Paul comes along. He was sent by a non-for-profit organization to help with yard work kind of stuff. But then he never leaves. And Connie is trying to get the help of neighbors and friends and whatever to show, hey, I think he is taking advantage of my mom, but no one is really listening to her. What I found interesting about the book, that is not the actual story, that dementia kind of thing and Paul taking advantage of the mother. This ends about 1/3 into the book, and then we are thrown into an adjacent story related to these characters. And I found that very interesting because it makes it a different book for John Marrs. Like, it's a different story that he's telling. It's a different way for him of telling a story, because his other books usually involved hundreds of characters. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. A lot of characters. And you get all the different POVs. You don't in this one. You're staying with Connie throughout the majority of the story, which is very, very interesting. Very cool reveal at the end, I thought. Interesting twist, and I think he did that ending very, very well, because there could have been other ways he could have went about it, and I'm not sure I would have liked that as an ending. So I appreciate that a lot. Not my favorite John Marrs. I still love his chaotic multi-POV type books much better, but that is an interesting switch to what he usually writes. Moving into sci-fi with Warrior's Apprentice by Louise McMaster Bujold, which is this third book in chronological order of the Vorkosigan saga. And it's the first book where we're finally meeting Miles, who the series is actually about. Book 1 and 2 in chronological order, Shards of Orna and Baraya, are more about his parents, how they met, and how they got Miles, and how Miles came to be. Well, bees and flowers, but there's more to it. In typical vorkosigan manner, it has a lot of emotions, it has great family moments, it has great moments with friends. A lot of kind of hidden humor included in it, and great conversation, great banter, and just a really cool story overall. A tad bit too much military talk at times, like some of those strategic military conversation went right over my head. So in Warrior's Apprentice, kind of as the name says, we're following Miles as a teenager. He is applying for military academy. He's going through the tests for the application, and we're basically seeing how he's dealing with the aftermath of all of this and going on his first adventures. I know that some people start with Warrior's Apprentice with their journey with the vorkosigan saga. I think it was good that we read, like Nico, Kate, and I read Shards of Honor and Bariah first, because there's a lot of background information in those two books that help then associate better with some of the things that are happening in Warrior's Apprentice. Like there's a lot of stuff happening as, Miles is on his adventures that hit harder because you know what happened in the first two books. I hope that makes sense. If you're interested in my continued reading journey of the vorkosigan saga, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because I will definitely read more books in this series throughout 2026. Next up, fantasy genre, starting with more of a romance fantasy story, which is Yuletide Bargains and Other Flawed Choices. I love these titles of these books, by Lauren Petra-Zilka, which is book 2 in the, I actually don't know what the series is called, but this is book 1. Harvest Magic and Other Poor Decisions, which came out also in 2025 during harvest season. And Yuletide Bargains just came out on December 19th, so I had to drop everything and actually start reading this novella. They are both really short, really, really cute. It's kind of a cozy, witchy setting. Briar, who's the main character, owns a bakery where she creates like desired danishes, for example. And it's just very mouth-watering and delicious sounding and warm and cozy, has the right witchy vibes. The writing is fantastic. You're immediately immersed in that small town. In book 1, you get to meet the love interest and obviously go on an adventure with him. In book 2, they are still together, but he has been kidnapped. And Briar is accompanied by her friend, and they are figuring out where he went and what happened and whatnot. I loved it. It was the perfect little treat in between longer books during the holidays, no less. I would have loved for it to be much longer, though. I think this should have been a novel, because there's some really cool things that happened in the Fae world where the love interest is from. He's half Fae. But by the time I realized, there's a twist happening, the twist was already revealed. So it happened a bit too fast, and I think it should have been longer, so we could have explored all of this longer and gotten deeper into some of those twisty things that were happening. But other than that, great story, same cozy vibe that book 1 had, and I love book 1 already a lot. So that was my second happy holiday read for the month of December. Oh boy. I finished the series. It is better than book 2. Book 3 is better than book 2. I'm glad I finished the series. I'm glad I finally read it. But I have issues with the series. Doesn't mean, though, just, upfront, I will continue reading books from Brandon Sanderson. I'm still very much interested in Elantris and Emperor's Soul and Warbreaker. I am now really excited to be reading Stormlight to see how that differs potentially from Era 1. And I find it funny, the more I talked about it and the more people I talked about it with, the more people said yeah, his other stuff is better. Era 1 is not his best series out there. Anyway, so I'll finally finish the series. What bugged me about the series in general is, first off, the main couple. And I'm trying to avoid names, and I'm trying to stay vague to avoid spoilers in case you haven't read the books yet. But the main couple, because there's zero chemistry, zero energy between the two. Their relationship is, I don't know, on paper, I don't even know why they are together. Their communication issues are ridiculous. The fact that we have to listen to them each individually that, hey, I should probably communicate with my better half so often. They say that so many times throughout book 2 and 3, where I'm well, then why are you not talking? What is going on here? Anyway, I enjoyed all the other chapters with all the other POVs much more than those two. And every time I went back to them, I was eh. And every time we went then to one of the side characters, I was yes! Because I enjoyed those a lot more. The religion was a tad too preachy, especially the ending of book 3. I loved the character that was exploring all the different religions and always had an anecdote about one of these religions out there. And I actually loved that there were so many religions to talk about in this world, which makes it so weird to me that it ended the way it did. So it's in particular, when I say I found the religion a bit too preachy, I mean in particular the ending of the series and what then the resolution of these religions were. And that I thought was kind of weird. I would have loved if that would have resolved somehow different. The other thing that really threw me off in book 2 and 3 was some of the like army sizes. It was exactly 30,000 people. I don't know if that was the number. It could have been whatever, 40,000. We have exactly 30,000 people, or we have exactly 20,000 colossi. And I was like, that is so weird. Why would you say that way? Just the way it was described felt off. And then I don't think Brandon Sanderson fully understands how much space an army of 30,000 people and 20,000 colossi really takes up, how much food you need, what a big operation that is to move a group like this around. I didn't feel that was properly described, especially in book 3, but I already had that issue in book 2. Similarly to some of the like strength that some of the characters have, in book 2 and 3 there were situations where characters swooped into a battle and, you know, everybody was struggling to keep going and, you know, they had a hard time, but then one person, and I understand there are like magical abilities involved, but one person then kills 20,000 colossi. Literally, like I'm not exaggerating at this point. Like that's what happened. I was like, huh? You just ran for miles. You just told me that you're completely exhausted and that you're so exhausted like you've never been before in your entire life. Yet you still have enough energy to kill 20,000 colossi? What? Anyway, on the good side, there are also things that I liked about the series. I already talked about the one character that has all these anecdotes for all these different religions. I thought that was such a fun reading experience, and it showed you a lot of the world as well. It gave you a lot of tidbits about how the world functions, right, and where we are, the history and all that kind of stuff. I also liked the Colossi, the whole history in the society of the Colossi and the Kandra a lot. We're learning a lot about those in book 3. And just this, all the aspects that we get to know of these two races was super fascinating to me. Just how they live, you know, again, how their society works, how they came to be, how they lived their life all of these thousands of years that this world existed. And yeah, I loved that a lot. And I thought this was so cool. And I would love to have kind of a sub-story on these two races. I would love to read more about them, to be honest. To an extent, the magic system, I think it was too much overall, but there were aspects of the magic system that I found really fascinating, especially those aspects that interacted with the world in general. A lot of the things that you get to learn about in book 3 and how some of those things connect and basically created the world the way we see it right now. I thought that was really fascinating to see that unravel and get an understanding of, you know, how does everything fit together. And then talking about side character, the Kandra, I loved throughout the series. And then Spook, especially in book 3, the banter with Breeze in book 3. I love the character arc of Spook. I think he actually went through the most development from book 1 till book 3. And especially in book 3, he really grew on me and I had a lot of fun with him. So overall, you know, I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I'm finally in the Sanderverse, as they say, or whatever the thing is. But I will never reread this again. It's too long. It's too much navel gazing. It's just too much random info dumping. If it would have been a big standalone, like a thicker book and then a standalone, or maybe even a duology, maybe I would have vibed with it more. It's just so long. And the last book I want to talk about is Midnight Tides. And I need to double check because I always mix up Memories of Ice and Midnight Tides as the title. Midnight Tides, book 5 of Malazan. Nearly a year break, and I'm finally back to it. This is the German version. If you don't know, the German versions are split in half. So Midnight Tides is actually 2 books. This is the second half of Midnight Tides. And as you can see, I'm nearly done. Again, I have 2.5 more days to finish this, and I will finish this in December. If it's the last thing that I do, quite literally, in December. But I'm pretty positive because it's like 100 and a little bit close to 200 pages that I have left, and I have nothing else to do for the rest of the year, which is exciting. I'm excited that I'm back into this world. I think I really needed that year break and to just walk away from it for a while. The interesting part is I actually started the second half of Midnight Tides at the beginning of the year and then DNF'd it halfway through, and I picked up where I left off without any issues. That is so fascinating to me because this series is freaking complex. There's so many characters, so many things happen, so many little things that you pick up as you're reading. And I pretty much had no issues so far. Like I've read 150 pages already since picking this up again. And no issues. Midnight Tides, depending on how it ends, might become my new favorite malazan book. So far, it's Gardens of the Moon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the names right, but I like Teehole and Bag a lot. I think they're so freaking weird. Their conversations are the most ridiculous thing ever. I don't even know what's going through their heads. I mean, I know because you're reading it, but it is so fascinating to me. They are my absolute favorite in the series. I love their scheming. I love all the planning that they are doing and all the little things that you discover of what they've been doing around the city. So 200 more pages on that one, and then hopefully next year I'll make a bigger dent into malazan because I'm halfway through the series. That should be a celebration in itself already. I know I have my struggles with it. I know it's dense, but overall I'm actually really enjoying it. I like a lot of aspects about this series, and I'm really excited to see where this is going. So here's to more malazan in 2026. Talking about 2026, take a look in the description box down below. I will put the link to the playlist of my whole wrapping up 2025 and looking forward to 2026 like video series. All the looking forward to 2026 videos are already in that playlist. And as I mentioned earlier, the books for wrapping up 2025 are coming out in January. Super excited for them. We'll talk with you about the favorite books that I read, all the 2025 releases that I've read, my mega stats video. That's one video that I'm always the most excited about. And because I already know the numbers, of course, I know there are some interesting trends that happened in 2025 that I haven't seen in prior years. So excited to share more about that. With that being my last video of 2025, I'm wishing you all a happy new year. For those of you who are celebrating the new year, I hope you have a lot of fun, drink responsibly. And for those who, like me, are going to bed at 9, well, we'll see each other next year. Have an amazing rest of the day, amazing rest of the year, and well, I'll see you next year. Bye.